Wichita is making changes to the way it words proclamations made by the City Council. Brock Wilson was at today's City Council meeting. He joins us with a look at those changes and what spurred them. Brock.
Rachel, this all relates back to the controversy 2 weeks ago today when the proclamation for Transgender Day of Visibility was brought before the Wichita City Council. At that meeting, Mayor Lily Wu deferred the motion to one of the 4 City Council members that voted for the proclamation, setting off a firestorm of pushback from both community members and City Council members. The mayor has since claimed that while she didn't vote for the proclamation, she also didn't ask for her signature to be removed. Now that brings us to today's City Council meeting, where the wording for future proclamations was changed from saying, "Now therefore be it resolved that I, Lily Wu, Mayor of the City of Wichita, Kansas, along with the Wichita City Council, do hereby proclaim," to now saying, "Therefore it be resolved that the Wichita City Council does proclaim." A little bit of a change in the wording there. This seemingly removing the mayor from a proclamation she may not support, but several community members spoke out, saying this takes away from the greater issue at hand.
What is frustrating is to see the controversy around this proclamation being buried under bureaucracy. The issue was not with the process. It was not with the fact that there was an electronic signature that was or was not removed. But there was a direct proclamation made from the bench that was a refusal to read the proclamation.
Mayor Wu responded to these comments by reiterating she did not refuse or decline to read or sign the Transgender Day of Visibility proclamation, rather saying she yielded the floor to the City Council members that voted for it. Now, coming up on 12 News at 6, we have a fact finder investigation that will dive deeper into how we got to this point and the decision to change how proclamations are worded. Rachel?
Brock, thank you.